Welcome back to the lab. Sorry for the lack of updates. I have been working away on 300ZX there, doing stuff and things. Also been doing other stuff and things, again, that are not very conducive to making interesting internet videos to keep your grey matter occupied. Let's have a look at what we've been up to on the Blue Z. I was going to call it something else. That'll do for today, the Blue Z. The owner dropped off some of the air conditioning plumbing, and that's had a bit of a clean up. It was looking a little bit scodier than that. It's pretty boring stuff, but it's not brand new looking, but it's pretty close, good enough. I do have some more tape to put over this area here to make that look nice and spicy. There's a small issue to overcome. This is a male fitting on here, and the corresponding, it's still lying on the ground over there. It's kind of out of the way, don't worry about it. The corresponding fitting on here is also a male fitting. So there's a little bit of a faux pas there. There's a discrepancy between, I'm not sure if this is a TT one or NA or early or late. This is the evaporator that goes in the dash for your air conditioning. But clearly that's got a male fitting, the other's got a male fitting, so that doesn't work. So we have to do something to make that work, and I also have to make the tube that goes from there, or saucer tube that goes from there, which is in the firewall there. There's two holes that are behind, just above my finger there, and it goes all the way around. Stuff and things, right, comes from the condenser. And I've accidentally shown you what I've been up to here. So a coyote turned up with an old crate, a coyote, geriatric coyote actually, with this Acme holder of things. I guess he didn't need to use it anymore. He's given up on chasing the Roadrunner. So this was surplus stock for him. So we've put that to use, holding our new air intake system. Of course, we had something quite different in there before, but that was based on not having this fan and not having the air conditioning condenser in there, and not having the oil cooler at the front, because the oil cooler had been moved back to where the air conditioning condenser was, just for better balance and better airflow through the oil cooler. That is, of course, a new oil cooler. It isn't brand spanking new, but I know the history of that. That's not been in an engine that's had a failure. That's been in the March, just very briefly. It has been cleaned and flushed, and never had any contaminants through there in the first place, right? So I know that is good. Got the fittings all sorted out on there. That's a lot of thinking on how I was going to do that. The bolts are loose at the bottom, that's why it's wobbling. In the end, just did it the simplest way. It's got an AN10 to AN6 reducer, and then AN6 push lock hoses to run it around onto the factory pipes. There's no clamps or anything on there yet, because everything's all in and out, in and out, in and out, trying to get it all sorted out. Now the pipes on the chassis, which I can show you from this side, that are sitting down there, those pipes there, they're an awkward size. They're 9.9mm. In theory, the push lock hose shouldn't have fitted over there, but as it turns out, it does have enough stretch, so that made it easier, because otherwise you end up having to adapt from that size to an AN size to get the hoses to work to go onto the oil cooler, or you have to have some, you can buy barbs that do have the correct size barbs, but you still have to run an adapter from the oil cooler and then through a 90 degree and all that sort of stuff, and it all just gets all awkward and cluttered and yucky. But in the end, this was the best result to get that done. Okay, so there's a few other things to deal with. A million things actually, but there's a few other things we'll focus on for now. The PTU, the power transistor unit to run the coil packs, that was moved down there way back when. A lot of people put them out the front of the car. I didn't want to do that. It's down there just to get it out of the way, off the front of the motor, to make it easier to work on the motor if you ever needed to. Unfortunately, that is now going to be in the way there for the air conditioning plumbing that needs to run through that exact area. So, fortunately, if you follow the harness, goes up there, it doubles back, goes up, comes around here, goes into the harness here, and disappears, goes way back to at least as far as there. And some of it comes back further to the other coil plugs, which are hanging around here somewhere. There's one there, one there. So we can actually unstitch all this and pull that PTU back and put it somewhere else probably going to endure more heat, but those ones don't particularly have too many problems. Might be able to put a nice bracket and put it on the firewall here. There's a bolt hole there for the earth cable. There's a mount there. That is to hold the stay for the original factory installation of the battery. So it could potentially move back into this general area. We may be fitting the battery back in the engine bay just because of everything that's going on. For what the car is going to be used for going forward, etc. It's probably better to have the battery back in there, but we'll still use the small lightweight battery. That's about where we're at the moment. So I'm going to go through and check we're good with our harness. I know there's a few things to deal with here. Some of these clips have now broken off on our coil pack plugs. Just old age, they do that. I do have some new ones of those in stock. You can simply pop the terminals out of the plugs and just replace the plastic and leave the wires as they are. It's usually the best way to do it, so long as the harness itself is actually in good condition. We will be, as far as I know, at this point upgrading to a Link G4X plug-in ECU, which goes obviously down in the passenger footwell there. So while we're doing that, we want to put fuel pressure sensor and oil pressure sensors in there. So while I've got this harness unstitched, unwrapped or whatever, shifting the PTU, that's a good time to get in there and start running extra wires to do those things and make sure we can actually do that we've got enough wires spare on the ECU plug in there to actually do what we want to do. And whether we have to have an expansion harness or potentially if we run out altogether, might have to look at a wire in ECU, which is easy enough to do. So PTU, power transistor unit or transistor pack. I'm sure there's a couple other names, I can't remember what they are. Lots of people call them lots of different things, but an igniter pack for the coils. The VG, that's not there, the VG30 DETT runs coils that don't have igniters built into them, and that's what this is for. There is the option, of course, maybe, of changing all the coil packs to something else. Just go to the back of the car. That will bolt into the top of the engine relatively nicely, cleanly and tidily. That has igniters built in, and then we can delete the igniter pack and just run as per what you'll find on the likes of the VQ35 and VK45s and VK56s and all the modern Nissan engines. They don't run igniter packs, they're built into each coil, and so basically you've got power and ground and a trigger wire that goes to each coil, and the trigger wire just goes straight into the ECU. Just another coil pack. This one's a plug. That one's actually in good condition, so is that one. Some of them have survived and some of them haven't. Look, while I was here I just started to unravel all this off, shift all this around to suit. We've got our temperature. This is ECU coolant temperature plug. This is the dash coolant temperature plug. So this one runs a gauge on your dash to tell you how hot the engine is. This one tells the engine control system how hot the engine coolant is. We've got our two plugs for our aftermarket crank and cam angle sensors there. They're on that harness as well. That is it as far as everything that goes beyond this point. But look what we got here. This is really good. This plug here plugs into, it's just kicking around on the ground down here. I just shifted things around. Plugs into that to make our air conditioning go. So we don't have to do massive amounts of rewiring so far. We've got, yeah, that's all of them actually. We've got our clutch power to run the AC pump. We've got the sensors that go onto the dryer, receiver dryer over there, and we've got the wires that run, they're in here, down to the plug for the fan. It's the wires here that we had the other day. I'm sure I can get that out if I pull on that hard enough. Ah, there she goes. So, that's good. I did not cut any of those wires and remove them from the car. I wasn't getting that carried away with weight removal and had, I don't remember, but may have been thinking at the time I might want to put air conditioning back in it one day, so don't don't destroy it totally. So that's great. It's good news. Just like that, suddenly our still in 300ZX service cover thingy magically appeared. I decided that since we're going to have a knife out, side cutters, we're going to be fiddling with wires and stuff, the chances of scratching the guards actually came up quite high to an unacceptable level, and it's about time to put the service cover on. So I found it. Found something else too while I was looking for that. I'll show you that later on. There's a helicopter buzzing around somewhere. It's very annoying. Never mind. Let's crack on. Apologies for the helicopter. I'm not sure what they're doing out there. That has been going all morning. And the cicadas, but we know what they're doing. Anyway. Yeah, see, look, I put that on. A good thing about chopping and changing the wiring harness on this is all, it's a 1990, old car. The old insulation starts just falling to bits. So that kind of has to be tidied up anyway, really. So we'll be in there. Don't mind that. We'll be in there sorting that out, and we'll fix this at the same time. Yay, good. A few more bits disappearing here, so we'll replace the earth cable on this because it was looking a bit shonky anyway, and it's no longer going to be suitable for what we're doing. And the next thing to look at is stuff and things on the other side of this big blue bit of metal here, otherwise known as the firewall. So we've got a couple of cables that run through here off the main power cable, which may also be replaced or at least re-terminated at this end to suit the old/new battery position. So round to the other side of this big blue bit of metal here, and oh my goodness, oh my dearie has pulled it completely to pieces. There's a bit of poor lighting for you guys there. That's where the mighty Link G4 ECU lives inside there, doing its thing inside the original factory case. It lives just over the top of that box there, which is to do with power steering, I believe, controls power steering, sensitivity, etc. And we've got our air conditioning. Oh, this lighting's awful today. Air conditioning evaporator lives in this area here. Comes from the fan. Air comes from the fan, blows through the air conditioning evaporator and into the rest of the heater ducting system. There's a main battery cable poking through there, which needs to go. We don't need that anymore. And down here somewhere beside the drain, which is in the middle of your screen there, is these wires that go through to the fuse that's on the other side, that were to power the fuel pump but are no longer being used, I believe. So I'll double check on all that, what's happening with that. It's all been shuffled around and changed. So obviously we've got our air conditioning evaporator out. Let's go have a look and see what we've got compared to the one that's been patiently waiting on the floor on the other side of the workshop there. You've spotted it straight away, haven't you? That's the one that came out of the car that I've pulled all the guts out of it, sealed it up, so it's just a big hollow box so that the air still flows through the system, but with no air conditioning. This is the one that has come through some sort of 300ZX second-hand parts supply system in New Zealand. I don't know where it came from or who sold it or whatever. Clearly that's a mirror image of that. That's not going to fit where that fits. That is for a left-hand drive car, not a right-hand drive car like we've got. Yep, that's the fun and games with 300ZXs, stuff and things. That happens. Never mind. Got to laugh. That's the best thing to do. No sense in crying. So I'll carry on with some other things that we can get done. I'll put some tools away. Like sorting out those wires. Just got to pull that plate off the firewall, get rid of that main battery cable that runs all the way through to the back of the car, and that's going to involve dismantling most of the interior of the car. As you can see, I've pulled a few bits and pieces out already and quietly stacked them out of my way. They're just going to have to go elsewhere into storage somewhere. passenger seat, etc. Pull this all to bits to get those things that we need out. Stuff and things! More stuff and things gone. We're actually not that far away from undoing the bits on the other side of the engine bay, and the whole engine bay harness comes out. We could drop off the heater hoses and a few other bits and bobs. Could actually repaint the whole engine bay. Probably won't be doing that. It'll probably just get a touch up in these areas that are looking pretty worse for wear. Not sure why there's so much paint missing in those general areas. Probably something to do with the battery used to be there, and there may have been some stuff left behind and reacted and let the paint lift off, or whatever. But certainly this area on the firewall that's looking a bit dark, just there, right in the middle of your screen, that paint's basically burnt because the exhaust gaskets on the downpipes weren't sealing correctly, and there's pretty much exhaust gas just blasting straight onto that, so that wasn't ideal. That needs to be sorted out, and that should keep me plenty busy for a Friday, dealing with that. It might be a good project, I think. So yeah, I'm going to knock off. I'm going to go and edit a video and smash it up online for everyone to watch. Thank you for watching. Be good to each other. A lot of people are grumpy and shirty is the word that I'll use, so I'm not swearing. Shirty with everything that's going on around that subject we're not going to talk about. Bumped into somebody this morning who clearly had some problems. Just be nice to people, eh? Don't take it out on other people. That's not cool. Like, your life might be murdered. There's no reason to go getting all aggressive and anti-people over silly little things. So, yes. Right, I'll see if I can get some content up. I believe there's news with the BMW. I think there is something finally happening with that. So I will let you know. Thanks for watching. Cheers, boy.